First tonight, we're continuing to follow the very latest out of Beaver Creek since this past Monday's tragic shooting. And now we are learning more on that potential motive for the shooting at the Walmart.
Lydia Bice has been following this story for the last 2 days and spoke with city and state leaders about gun laws moving forward. And so, Lydia, what did they have to say?
Late this afternoon, the FBI released new information from their investigation saying that Monday night's Walmart shooting was at least partially racially motivated. We know that 2 of the victims were African-American females. The other 2 victims were a white female and a white male. We've also learned that 20-year-old Benjamin Charles Jones purchased the firearm that he used during this attack at a store here in Dayton on Saturday, November 18th, just 2 days before the shooting. The Beaver Creek Police Department released this photo of Jones today, urging anyone with information on him to contact their department or the FBI. Today, I also heard from Governor Mike DeWine and Dayton Mayor Jeffrey Mims Jr. in the aftermath of this mass shooting in Beaver Creek. I also caught up with Mayor Mims. He says that more needs to be done when it comes to gun restrictions, and fast.
Myself, I'm not sure if you know my background. I'm a Vietnam vet. Clearly, I know how to use those weapons, have had to do so, and they were designed for the use of either defending yourself or attacking multiple people. And we don't have those situations now.
The FBI and Beaver Creek Police Department are urging anyone with information to get in contact with them immediately. You can call 1-800-CALL-FBI or head to tips.fbi.gov. We also learned today that the Beaver Creek Walmart location will reopen at 6 a.m. on Friday, November 24th. Back to you.
Lydia, thank you. Congressman Mike Turner issuing a statement on X. He says, quote, "As we continue to learn more about Monday night's tragic shooting, my prayers and support are with the
As soon as the truce ends.
Citizens of Israel, I'd like to be clear. The war continues. The war continues. We will continue with it until all our goals are achieved. Gaza will no longer be a threat. We will bring back security into the south and into the north. And until total victory.
Now, his comments come as world leaders urge Israel and Hamas to extend the truce into a lasting ceasefire. As it stands, the deal includes the release of 50 hostages for Palestinian prisoners and for every 10 additional hostages. Israel will extend the humanitarian pause by 1 day. Ahead of the deal's approval, Israel's defense minister said he had secured assurances that the truce will not end the war.
Pope Francis says the conflict in Gaza goes beyond war, calling it terrorism. He made the comments after meeting at the Vatican with 12 relatives of Israeli hostages taken by Hamas. The Pope also spoke separately with 10 Palestinians who have family impacted by the war in Gaza. And speaking at St. Peter's Square, the Pope described the suffering and called for peace. Members of the Palestinian delegation claim Francis used the term genocide to describe the conflict during their private meeting, something the Vatican denies.
All right, let's talk weather now. Of course, Thanksgiving within the next few hours, and it looks like if you're going to be traveling tomorrow, it's going to look pretty good.
Yeah, really nice, quiet weather for Thanksgiving Day, and really the nicest day of our next 7 days. With chilly weather currently, we're hanging out in the 30s. We're at 37 Dayton. It's going to be colder tonight compared to where we were sitting this morning, so you may notice that as you head out the door tomorrow. But 32 already up in Wapakoneta, 34 in Richmond, going to be dropping into the lower 30s eventually. Right now we're sitting cooler compared to this time yesterday, but if you are heading out maybe to the turkey trot tomorrow, it's looking pretty good. It is going to be chilly though, so 30s in the morning, and then we do have upper 30s by the late morning, eventually getting into the 40s with some sunshine, so shades as well as something to keep yourself warm, of course, during that run tomorrow, and then looking pretty good for the afternoon too. I'll have a look at the rest of the week coming up.
People are looking forward to that Thanksgiving feast tomorrow, but if you're not careful, that feast could fuel flames. Luke Jones has more with the most common Thanksgiving cooking mistakes after speaking with the Cincinnati Fire Department.
Don't let this happen in your kitchen. On average, 1,600 kitchen fires nationwide, all on Thanksgiving Day, most related to Thanksgiving meal prep. The Cincinnati Fire Department is urging everyone to keep an eye on what they're cooking.
Leaving food unattended is the biggest cause of fires on Thanksgiving.
CFD says most accidents they see stem from deep frying turkeys. Try buying one pre-fried if possible. But if you really want to do it yourself, be sure not to use too much oil. And again, practice safe distancing.
You want to make sure it's at least 10 feet from the house and make sure you monitor and follow the manufacturer's instructions.
So this is something you should be doing outside, definitely.
Definitely outside.
In Cincinnati, I'm Luke Jones.
The National Fire Protection Association says we see more cooking fires on Thanksgiving than any other day of the year.
Well, thousands of families traveling to New York City for the annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade tomorrow. The 97th event will take over Manhattan, featuring dozens of balloons, floats, and all-star performers. Mayor Eric Adams says the NYPD closely monitoring safety in the city after unease because of what happened at the Niagara Falls Rainbow Bridge crossing.
We've already had enhanced security because of the holiday, and we don't see any nexus between the incident there and here in New York City.
Now, city and state law enforcement officials stress in recent days there have been no credible threats in regards to that parade or holiday travel.
A crisis in the classroom investigation tonight into student absences across the state of Ohio. What school districts across the Miami Valley are now saying about how they can balance out these shocking numbers.
Also, one local university celebrating Thanksgiving today, why the school says it is an important tradition.
Plus, I will have our Thanksgiving forecast. I'm tracking some sunshine and the rest of the weekend, too. That's coming up. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
State and local leaders warning of consequences of students being absent too often. Now, this is as attendance and enrollment drops and absenteeism continues.
Gwyneth Falloon joins us now with more on this crisis in the classroom. So Gwen, I know that you've been speaking with state departments and several local school districts as well. And what are they saying is causing this trend?
Elise, unfortunately, it's a number of different things. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic is one of those causes, but a decline in students' motivation to get to class, parents not encouraging good attendance as much, and in the Miami Valley specifically, the damage left behind by the 2019 Memorial Day tornadoes are all other factors. It's an issue across the nation, state, and in the Miami Valley.
Every day a child doesn't come, then of course we cannot impact their education. So we want them to be here as much as they can.
Districts continue to fight to keep kids in class as more and more are showing up late or not coming at all.
We're in the high 80s now instead of in the 90s.
Trotwood-Madison City Schools Superintendent Dr. Reva Cosby tells me the district's attendance has been down about 5% since the 2021-22 school year, and less students are enrolled.
It's almost like constantly I'll see that students are withdrawing and students are enrolling.
For the 2017-18 school year, Trotwood-Madison had about 2,600 students with a 93% attendance rate. So far this year, there are only an estimated 2,400 enrolled and an 88% attendance rate.
We had COVID and, a lot of students stayed out of school, which of course we suffered through that as well. But we also had the tornado that hit right before COVID.
But Trotwood-Madison isn't the only district struggling.
When you look at the data over the last 5 years, we had an uptick with a high in 1920 that was right before or during the pandemic. And then right after, we saw some decreases of between 5 to 7%.
Dayton Public Schools Interim Superintendent Dr. David Lawrence says the district saw nearly a 93% attendance rate for the 2019-20 school year, but dropped 10% the following year. Although numbers are slowly climbing, Dr. Lawrence says there is always room for improvement.
We focus on getting kids consistently in school. So once you do anything consistently, then you continue to do it on a regular basis. So the deal is, how do we get you to come 20 straight days, 25?
Declining attendance and enrollment aren't the only concern either. As more desks sit empty, students risk becoming chronically absent, which is when they miss more than 10% of the school year.
We still have 26% of our Ohio students missing up to 10% of each school year.
According to Jessica Votolini with the Ohio Department of Education, of the state's 612 public school districts, 117 had a chronic absenteeism rate over 30% for the 2022-23 school year.
Some of the challenges are the same. Some of them are heightened or exacerbated by the pandemic.
In addition to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, districts like Trotwood-Madison are also dealing with the damages left behind by disasters like the Memorial Day tornadoes.
We have some students who are still displaced. And so when we talk about absenteeism, we have some students who have a hard time getting to school because they're staying with other relatives. They're out of district for that reason.
But no matter the reason why students are missing school, district leaders say it's just as important for teachers and staff to have good attendance too.
When the teacher comes to school every day, that makes a difference for kids' attendance as well. It's valuable that the custodian be there every day, nutrition services, the secretary, the principals, that everyone is there every day and says, I care.
The Department of Education says students who have never been chronically absent are 9 times more likely to graduate on time and nearly 7 times more likely to read on grade level by 3rd grade. And these leaders warn a child's education isn't the only thing at risk.
Students have access to meals, wraparound services, in some cases, healthcare, interventions, tutoring, and additional supports.
All things that help students reach their goals, both in and out of the classroom.
I would want students to know that we really do want them to be successful in their lives.
I want everybody to come to work and to come to school every day so we can bond.
Now, the Department of Education says there are consequences for truancy. Depending on the severity, it could go all the way to court. More information about that, though, can be found on our website, Dayton247now.com. Back to you.
Gwen, thanks. And like she just mentioned, you can find more on our website. Just click on the Crisis in the Classroom section to find this story and others just like it.
Well, we have cloud cover starting to build a little bit back into the area, so we started to see some clearing. More clouds building through, but these will continue to decrease as we head into the day tomorrow. And then eventually got a cold front that's going to swing in, which is going to drop temperatures even more for the weekend. And you probably heard talk of some wintry precipitation possible this weekend, so I'm going to talk about that. But this cold front going to be swinging through tomorrow. So sunshine tomorrow afternoon, looking like a nice day, highs in the lower 50s. Overall, just a nice fall-like afternoon for Thanksgiving. No travel concerns expected across our area tomorrow. And then we got a cold front that will swing through. This is going to drop temperatures as we head into the weekend. So Friday, Saturday, highs back into the lower 40s. We'll also see some clouds around. Mix of sun and clouds both Friday and Saturday, and our next weather maker arrives on Sunday. So this is going to be bringing us a chance for some rain and potentially some snow into our area. So what we'll need to be watching with this is the track of the storm system, also the temperatures within the storm system as well. Our whole temperature profile is going to be very important with this, but it does look like mainly rain with some snow mixed in. That heads off to the east, and then we'll continue to see maybe a couple of flurries Sunday night into Monday. Little, if any, accumulation is expected, but may see some snowflakes flying during the day on Sunday. And then it gets colder by Monday. Notice our high temperature back into the upper 30s. I'll have a look at that 7-day coming up here in just a little bit.
The high school basketball season is starting to ramp up. How one coach and some alumni are now teaming up to make sure all players have the right gear.
You're watching Dayton 24/7. In Cincinnati, the high school basketball season starting to ramp up, but as teams get ready for their first game, some players can have a hard time making sure they got the right gear. So Tyler Madden shows us how a coach and an alum, they teamed up to keep their players in step.
Withrow head girls basketball coach Sasha Young had a plan. With the help of Withrow grad Rayshawn Walton and the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, they decided to surprise both the JV and varsity teams.
In the spirit of Thanksgiving, we actually decided for this upcoming basketball season to purchase everyone on the team shoes for this upcoming basketball season.
We seen those shoes come in, we was all excited.
The looks on the players' faces, priceless.
That was like Christmas morning for me to see them all excited to have a new pair of shoes.
We don't know everything that a kid might need, but we try to do as much as possible to bridge the gap.
Coach Young says the matching sneakers will give her team a new level of confidence. The surprise is giving the Withrow girls basketball squad a little more to be thankful for this holiday season.
Never forget where they come from, where they came from, and to always reach back and bring someone else up with you.
I'm Tyler Madden reporting.
Wright State University also making sure everyone has a Thanksgiving dinner. Today, students, faculty, staff, alumni, plus the community, they came out for a free buffet-style holiday meal at the 12th annual Raiders Giving. Also included traditional Thanksgiving meal of turkey, potatoes, mac and cheese, and more, plus options for everyone, like chicken and vegan dishes, and the university says it's important to provide the opportunity for this togetherness.
Some of our students, faculty, and staff are international students or just don't have other opportunities to share that meal, and so as a university, we think it's important for us to be able to provide that opportunity.
Now, the university says it's their biggest crowd since the pandemic.
A documentary highlighting the first game of what is now the National Football League is airing nationwide tonight. After the break, you'll hear from one of the filmmakers on the importance of sharing this history.
The Dayton 24/7 Now News app, brought to you by the Jeff Schmidt Auto Group.
Dayton has an important place in American sports history, and today that history is being shared on a nationwide scale. Matt Digby explains.
The Triangle Park documentary aired in every NFL city on Wednesday evening. It highlights the first game of what was then the American Professional Football Association, now known as the NFL.
Let's let this story keep on going.
It's been more than 100 years since Triangle Park hosted the first game of what is now the National Football League. AMC theaters in every NFL market around the country airing a documentary on Wednesday highlighting that first game.
They found a lot of value in the film and the story, and especially the generational component that, you could take mom and dad and your family to the theater. They really like that.
Alan Farsh says he was inspired to make this film because of a want to tell a positive story about Dayton and is thankful for being able to collaborate with some of the biggest names in professional football history.
When you work on something with all your heart for 3 years and you're able to get, players that you've loved dearly like Eric Dickerson, Troy Aikman, Ben Roethlisberger in your film. I'm trying to take all of my work and everything I'm doing up a notch.
Farsh also says this film is important because of how it showcases an often overlooked part of NFL history here in the Miami Valley.
It's crazy that we're not telling our history here in Dayton. I found that would be really the genesis for me was to get this out and let kids know what we have to be proud about.
And there was also a screening tonight and one scheduled for tomorrow, Thursday evening at the Neon Theater in the Oregon District. Alan Farsh says there are discussions for more theaters to air the film in December and then streaming options in 2024. Back to you.
And a very famous man stopping by the Dayton Mall tonight. Santa Claus came to town to officially kick off the holiday celebrations. He was escorted by the Miami Township